It's unfortunate. No one feels worse than him. Now, I would suggest a reordering of the agenda items to be 10 first, then 8, then 9. Because regardless of whether 8 and 9 pass, I think 10 certainly should be approved. Does anybody else want to make comments before we move to the agenda?
I just want to make, Kurt, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, so both I and Commissioner Kellett are up for re-election this fall, so just wanted to be plain about that. It is a 4-year term. In the course of comments this evening, I did want to thank the residents for the comments and the input. In particular, Jason, those were thoughtful and heartfelt comments. We understand the As Commissioner Kellett said, the issue before us is sending a letter of termination to Ferndale so we can take the next step. We are going through a due diligence phase to determine whether a merged public safety is the right option for us. Should that not be, it would have been reckless to issue a letter of termination and not have backup fire. This commission does not operate in a reckless manner. We hope that we would come to an agreement for a merged public safety arrangement. And when this comes up, it will be subject to the Open Meetings Act and subject to resident input. So just wanted to make those thoughts. For the people who are committed to the Ferndale Fire relationship, that in and of itself does not cover the situation we have with our police. Our police staffing is thin, and we want to have a sustainable community, sustainable cost, and we want to make sure we have the backup that we need. For the people who are looking for more data and details, the details, of course, we don't know yet because we haven't gone through the due diligence phase and the negotiations. You'll get it when we know the answers. But while the comments were going on, I did take the opportunity to look through some of the quick data that we have in our packet. People who were here at the beginning of the meeting heard us approve the expenses. And just in terms of the line item for Ferndale Fire is just under $29,000 a month. And that's an artificially low cost because we're applying that credit that the mayor had talked about. So think of a much higher number in terms of the normal recurring cost. When I looked at Chief Sullivan's activity report from, I'm looking at April here, there were 11 runs. None of them were fire. 5 out of the 11 runs were 5 minutes or longer. So that's the kind of numbers that we're looking at. And we have to test the numbers, maybe even do some test runs in terms of response times just to make sure all of this works. But the action before the commission right now is to earnestly and honestly engage in a due diligence phase to see if there's a better way. Thank you.
Frank or Jerry?
The only thing I wanted to say is I have family that live here. I live here. I've got granddaughters across the street, and I would never jeopardize that. I believe that we are doing everything we can to protect us. Nobody is going to change everything tomorrow, but as George said, it's the due diligence. We're trying to get things in order. Once we get to the final phases, of course, everybody's input, we're going to have meetings and let you know so we can decide what's the best coverage for our city, what's the best way to go. Hopefully during this 2 years that we have, we can bring Huntington Woods in, which would even enhance this much better. But I just want to let you know that I would never vote for anything that would jeopardize my family, your family, or anybody in the city, because I absolutely love this city. Thank you.
Thank you. Go to item number 10, consideration of authorizing the city manager to continue ongoing negotiations with the city of Berkeley regarding public safety. Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move the City Commission authorize the city manager to continue negotiations with the City of Berkeley regarding the development of an intergovernmental agreement for public safety services.
Support.
Discussion. May we take a vote?
Commissioner Kellett?
Yes.
Commissioner Rubino?
Yes.
Commissioner Bushy?
Yes.
Commissioner Lenko?
Yes.
Do I get to vote?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mayor Costello.
Yes. Jumping back to item number 8, consideration of the agreement between the City of Berkeley and the City of Pleasant Ridge for fire protection services. Again, this is fire protection services in the event that we vote to terminate the current Ferndale fire protection contract and are not able to reach a public safety arrangement by the date that the Ferndale contract effectively terminates, which would be scheduled to commence July 1st, 2013. The contract prices being $104,000 in fiscal year 2013, beginning in 2013, $109,000 in fiscal year 2014, and then the third year to be at a reasonable, mutually agreeable increase. Is there a motion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I move the agreement between the City of Pleasant Ridge and the City of Berkeley for fire protection services in Pleasant Ridge be approved effective if the City of Pleasant Ridge terminates its contract with the City of Ferndale for fire protection services in the amount of $104,000 fiscal year 2013, $109,000 in fiscal year 2014.
Support.
Discussion. May we take a vote?
Commissioner Rubino?
Yes.
Commissioner Bushy?
Yes.
Commissioner Kellett?
Yes.
Commissioner Lenko?
Yes.
Mayor Costello?
Yes, motion carries. Now, the last item deals with timing of all this. That would be consideration of notice to terminate the Ferndale Fire Protection Agreement effective July 1st, 2013, as allowed under the provisions of the amendment dated July 6, 2005. Passage of this obviously does not affect whether or not we would continue to negotiate with Berkeley. Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move the City of Pleasant Ridge terminate the agreement with the City of Ferndale for fire protection services effective July 1st, 2013, as allowed under the provisions of the amended contract, and that the City Commission authorize the City Manager to deliver the notice of termination to the City of Ferndale City Manager.
Is there support?
Support.
Discussion. May we take a vote?
Commissioner Kellett?
Yes.
Commissioner Lenko?
Yes.
Commissioner Bushy?
Yes.
Commissioner Rubino?
Yes.
Mayor Costello?
Yes, motion carries. Let's recess for 10 minutes. June 14th, 2011. It's still June 14th. Next item is consideration of the following consent agenda. Resolution in honor of Flag Day today, and consideration of the request by Clean Water Action to solicit door-to-door from June 15th through July 31st, 2011. Sherry.
Mayor, City Commissioners, there are 2 items on the consent agenda this evening for your consideration. As you mentioned, Flag Day and the request to solicit in town from June 15th to July 31st. My recommendation is that the consent agenda be approved.
Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move the consent agenda be approved as recommended.
Support.
May we take a vote?
Commissioner Bushy?
Yes.
Commissioner Kellett?
Yes.
Commissioner Lenko?
Yes.
Commissioner Rubino?
Yes.
Mayor Costello?
Yes, motion carries. Oh, next item, my favorites, the supplemental appropriations. Molly? Can you come, at least come to that microphone for TV?
So you have in front of you 4
No,
supplemental...
that microphone for TV.
Oh, I thought they weren't on.
The
I didn't
TV
think
one
it mattered. Gotcha. Okay. So you have in front of you 4 supplemental appropriations. These will be the final amendments for the June 30, 2011 fiscal year. There's really nothing too earth-shattering in these amendments, but the city management being proactive, taking a realistic look at where we think all of our line items are going to end in the next couple weeks, and making sure that we're properly amending the budget to be in line with those true costs. There's 4 particular funds that needed some amending: the general fund, the local street, sanitation, and the SCAP fund. Again, because these are supplemental appropriations, they are requesting a change to the budgeted fund balance, use, or addition, whichever it may be, from where the budget currently stands, which has been amended a couple times already this year. So just to clarify the difference between the supplemental versus a transfer appropriation. So unless you have any specific questions on any line items, I could, talk to.
I got a general question.
Sure.
So I see like wages and all these other items on here. So why are they not grouped in one? Because you want to pull them out of different funds? Is that what it is? Or?
They're all different departments.
Oh, different
Yeah, if you look
departments,
at
so
the
it's like different
second
lines.
set of digits, they're
Okay.
all in different departments.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And then Molly, my favorite, which one of these is the SCAF? Where do I find that one?
I'm not sure what order they were prepared for you, but the fund number is 259. So any of them where you see the
That's,
account numbers with
I think
the
it's
first
014,
3 digits.
well, the last one. That's 259.
I think there was only 3 or 4 lines on that one.
Right. I
So
think
that's
that's the
just-
last one.
So the unrealized gain loss, the
Yes.
loss of 15,000, what does that relate to?
The investments, the unrealized gain or loss on the investment activity thus far. Unfortunately, that's a hard one to really, nail down at the beginning of a year, let alone during the year. So now that we have 11 months under our belt, we have a better idea of where we think we're going to be.
And then we went through all this last year, only to have a near tornado rip through the city and throw the budget all
Exactly.
off. So this is all contingent on no tornadoes in the
Unfortunately,
next 16
exactly.
days. Okay. Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move that supplemental appropriations number A-2011-011, A-2011-012, A-2011-013, and A-2011-014 be approved as recommended.
Support.
Can we take a vote?
Commissioner Kellett?
Yes.
Commissioner Rubino?
Yes.
Commissioner Bushy?
Yes.
Commissioner Lenko?
Yes.
Mayor Costelli?
Yes, motion carries. Sherry, no tornadoes this year. Next item, public hearing, solicitation of public comments on the 2011 through 2012 combined city budget, the proposed 2011 through 2012 millage rates, and the 2012 through 2016 5-year capital improvement plan. Sherry.
Mayor and City Commissioner, I am pleased to present a balanced budget, and one that adds a little to fund balance once again to the City Commission. I would like to just, right off the start, thank Ms. Boyk, Ms. Allison, and Mr. Peterzak, because as you all know, it has been a very busy few months, and the budget process has become ever more difficult when you have less money to spread over the same number of departments. So special thanks to them because they picked up the ball and ran with it, and I'm not going to steal their thunder to let them make a presentation, but a couple of the things which have been touched on already tonight is the decrease in state shared revenue, the new plan that's been introduced by the current governor, which Ms. Allison will explain. I will only tell you that the employees have agreed to, once again, no salary increase, and I regret to say that we have asked them for additional contributions toward the cost of their benefits. This city is fortunate to have such a loyal group of employees, I believe. And with that, I think it's going to be, who's first?
I think I am.
So, Amy, if you will go through a little bit of the budget, and of course, if you have any questions, all 4 of us are here to answer for you.
Okay, I have estimated revenues for the general fund are 2.2 million and budgeted expenditures are 2.1 million, so we're going to see a small increase to that fund balance. And I believe the city manager touched on that briefly. This year's tax millage rate will be 18.1928. That's the same millage rate that we had in 2010, so we didn't realize any rollback on that rate, but Obviously, with Headley and Proposal A, we're not able to increase that rate. Our overall taxable value as of the March Board of Review had increased 1.5%. So until we receive our adjustments from the March and July board, we won't know what our real increase or decrease is going to be. But currently we see a 1.5% increase. The millage rates are as proposed. General operation is 11.4248. Infrastructure is 2.4124. Refuse collection is 1.7134. The pool operating is 1.2722. The pool debt is a flat 1, and library millage is 0.37 mils. Again, as the city manager indicated, in an effort to reduce costs, there will be no wage increases again this year. And through employee concessions, additional contributions were requested for health care and retirement, and those have both been implemented. State shared revenue is budgeted at a 6% decrease from an already drastically reduced 2010-2011 figure. In the past, behind tax collection, state shared revenue or sales tax revenue has been the city's second largest revenue source. Sales tax payments are made to local governments based on a constitutional and statutory law. The governor and state legislature perceive this to be one payment, and they call it state shared revenue. The state feels that statutory payments to local units are not mandatory and may be made at its discretion. Thus, for much of the 90s and the 2000s, we saw an ever declining amount that we were receiving from the state and state shared revenue. This year, the formula distribution was revised again. The governor recommended communities compete for the state shared revenue payments that they are owed. The governor called for all statutory revenue to be pooled and distributed to communities under an Economic Vitality Incentive Program, or EVIP. This would provide revenue to eligible communities if they meet certain criteria. And the 3 criteria he laid out were that the local community develop a dashboard for financial indicators and a citizen's guide for local communities' finances. 2, a plan to increase consolidation and collaborative efforts in order to reduce operating costs. And 3, a plan to revise employee health care and retirement plans. If we meet all these criteria, the city will be eligible to receive an estimated $210,575. If not, we'll receive the reduced payment. And then finally, the overall budget proposed keeps services at the high level expected from our residents.
Andrew, you were rounding on
The revenue and expense, and so the budgeted increase of the fund balance is about $46,000. And that's about what we took a hit for last year, if I recall, because of the tornado.
That's actually, the cost of the tornado was more than that.
Okay. Anybody else, Scott?
All right, good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Commission. I was going to touch on special revenue funds that are part of the budget. These funds are not part of the general fund. They are they create their own revenue or they receive revenue from separate tax dollars of what the general fund is. Those include major and local streets, solid waste, pool community center operations. The SCAF fund is part of that, and library services. Our major and local streets program is going forward this year. We will be totally reconstructing Kemberton Drive. And that's at a cost of around $375,000, and that's paid for by our infrastructure millage, which Amy touched on a little bit earlier, and by the small amount of interest that we get out of the SCAF fund. There was a time when we used to do 2 streets in a year because the interest rates were upwards of 11 and 12%, and now I think we just lost our largest CD at 5.5%. It's time to cash in, and our other ones are lower than that. So interest rates have dropped. As far as solid waste goes, there's a millage that is put on for that, and there's a fee that is attached to the water bill. Solid waste pays for garbage collection, recycling, leaf collection, and all those things that go into there. There is a small increase on that water bill for each quarter of 13%. The pool and community center operations are, we collect about $151,000 for the millage. That operates the pool, that operates the wellness center for the year, and as you all know, last year we did have to cut back some hours because that fund took about a $16,000 hit. And we had done some training with the lifeguards, and we figured out what our fixed cost, if we were to fill the pool, keep chemicals in it, and no one was ever to swim, it still cost us $70,000. There's just costs that go with the pool that no matter if one person comes and swims or we have a crazy summer, we have fixed costs. So really the bad part about that is the only way to cut is staff and hours. So we do have the same hours that we had last season, this season, and so far it seemed worked out, except for, of course, we had a couple 90-degree days and we were packed on those days. So that's where we are at the pool. As far as the SCAF, we budget $75,000 in investment income for that, and the SCAF fund loaned the Downtown Development Authority, I believe it was around $100,000 to do the improvements that they had done at the Fairwood parking lot there. So you see a difference in that, and the DDA is going to repay the SCAF fund of that money. And last is library services. That's a voted millage of 0.37 mils, and that raises roughly $39,000 to pay for the library contract. The last special revenue fund, which is also our only enterprise fund, is a water and sewer account. And as you all know, the water and sewer account was running the deficit, so the city filed a deficit reduction plan with the state, which is required by law. And that occurred last year. The plan allows the city to pay that amount back over a 5-year period, but because of the City Commission's commitment and determination to strengthen the water and sewer fund, we plan to pay that deficit off by the end of this fiscal year. So that's a great testament to what we've been able to do in the water and sewer fund. And of course, that comes into play. You know, you have water rate increases. Some of those come from Detroit Water and Sewer. Some of those come from SACWA, and some of those come from the City of Pleasant Ridge. Also, you see on our water bills, we include the George W.K. Kuhn drain payment, and that is part of those water bills also. And I believe that's all for the special revenues. Any questions?
Gone forever. The postal substation.
Yes.
Which eliminates not only expense, but there was income that came in from that, so that hits both sides of the budget.
Yep.
And on snowy days,
correct.
Shovel your own sidewalks, folks, because the brush isn't coming down anymore.
Yes, that was one of the eliminations, was the residential snow plowing on the residential streets. When it hit 4 to 6 inches, the city would come out and do that. So that service has been eliminated. We will continue to do the parks and in front of City Hall and in front of the community center when the snow snow gets up there.
Something that is staying is the curbside leaf collection, but I think that Scott, you might share with people that even if we eliminate curbside leaf collection, the entire cost doesn't go away, because if people are bagging their leaves, we still have to pay to dispose of those leaves, correct?
Yes, that's correct. We actually we changed contractors for leaf collection this year. We cut down the season to approximately 4 weeks. We were able to get all the leaves picked up. You know, leaf season is tricky. You know, it's this tree, all the leaves fall, the next tree next to it doesn't. So it's a tough program to administer, but we were able to save upwards of $20,000 by shortening the season and changing the contractor. However, if this year we said no more curbside leaf collection, you have to bag your leaves, we'd still have to pay Tringali Sanitation, who is our garbage collector, money to pick up those leaves. So they would have to have a dedicated truck in the city, and they would charge us a per household amount to pick up those leaves. So it would still be, I don't know the number exactly, but we'd still have a significant cost to pick up leaves, and plus people would have to bag them also.
Unless you go with the Debbie Castelli plan, which is you get a leaf shredder given to you for Mother's Day, and then you make your husband shred all the leaves.
Right. That sounds like a good plan.
It works for Debbie.
The mayor will have his leaf shredder for rent, right?
With that, I'll open the public hearing. With that, I'll close the public hearing. Next item is consideration of the 2011-2012 combined city budget, the proposed 2011-2012 millage rates, and the 2012-2016 5-year capital improvement plan. Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move the 2011-2012 combined city budgets and 2012-2015 five-year capital improvement plan be approved, and that the budget resolution be adopted, including the levying of 11.4248 mills for the general fund operating, 2.4124 mills for infrastructure improvements, 1.7134 mills for solid waste and disposal, 0.3700 mills for library services, 1.2722 mills for community center complex operations, and 1 mill for community center complex debt service be approved as recommended.
Is there support?
Support.
May we take a vote?
Commissioner Kellett?
Yes.
Commissioner Bushy?
Yes.
Commissioner Lenko?
Yes.
Commissioner Revino?
Yes.
Mayor Costelli?
Yes, motion carries. Next item is public hearing, solicitation of public comments on an ordinance to amend section 74-183, combined water and sewer rates of chapter 74 utilities of the Pleasant Ridge City Code. Sherry.
Mayor and City Commissioners, as Mr. Peterzak mentioned, the Water and Sewer Fund had fallen into a deficit condition, and the city was required to file a deficit reduction plan. There is a proposed increase this year on the existing water rates to the residents, and part of that is to cover the costs that are passed on from the Detroit Water and Sewer, from the SACWA, and from, of course, the George W. Kuhn drain, which the city has been is a part of and has been paying since it was bonded. And that is a considerable amount on every water bill. My recommendation, the proposed rate is for a 12% increase. You have before you the actual rates and what it would mean for by meter size. If you'd like, I can read those into the record.
Sure.
5/8 inch meter would be $97.80. A 3/4 inch meter, $141.27. I will add to that those are the two most common meter sizes in our residential properties. A 1-inch meter will cost $206.47, 1.5 at $260.81. 2-inch meter would be $293.41, and a 3-inch meter, which we currently have one and we are about to disconnect, which was at our industrial property, is $391.21.
And those numbers are what, Sherry? Are those numbers?
Those are the minimum water bills. In
Okay.
addition to that,
Usage?
yes.
And those are per quarter?
Those are per quarter.
Wow.
Yes.
With that, I'll open the public hearing and close my swimming pool.
Yeah.
Comments from the public?
I just have a question about
We have to start with name and address.
Tom Eagleson, 68 Oakdale Boulevard. My question about the water rates is, in terms of the minimum amount, why is that different between different meter sizes?
It's different because meter sizes, it has to do with the flow of water that goes through the meter. And so we have, in fact, if you could see the chart, up to a certain amount of consumption.
Right, but the water bill is detailed by 1,000 cubic feet. And so my question is, if 1,000 cubic feet goes through a 5/8 meter, doesn't that record the same as if it's going through a 3/4 inch meter? I mean, don't you come up with the same volume of water?
Well, the billing is based on 1,000 cubic feet, but it has always been my understanding that the meter size determines the amount, the minimum use of water that you are billed for. And so the larger the meter, the
Is that
higher
just
the
an
minimum
that's
bill.
just an arbitrary thing? I'm
I
just
don't think it's arbitrary.
trying to understand where that comes from, because I have a 3/4 inch meter,
Okay,
and I use less than, well, about half of the minimum consumption.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to comprehend why I'm being billed at a higher rate than somebody that had a smaller meter and only used half the water minimum. You know, I'm trying to reconcile that and where that comes from.
I don't know the answer.
From the engineering standpoint, I don't know the answer either. I know it's an ordinance that the city adopted many years ago, and it may just be that it was based on people falling below the minimum number that it takes to run and pay for the system itself. I'm happy to look into that for you and get you a specific answer if you'd like.
Okay, I would, because it's never really made a lot of sense to me why, you know, water usage is water usage, no matter what size the meter, I would think.
It has to do with demand. Like, if you have a 3/4 inch meter and you want to pump a lot of water through that, you can pump more water through your 3/4 inch meter in 5 minutes than somebody can in a 5-inch meter. And that's how we're billed from Saukwa and Detroit, based on a peak hour and a peak usage. So if you decided to water your lawn at the peak hour and the peak day at 3 o'clock, let's say, and you watered your lawn with a 3/4 inch meter, you can pump a lot more water in a 10-minute period than somebody can with a 5/8 inch meter. Same with the pool, we have a 2-inch meter. I can put 3 times the amount of water you can in 5 minutes that you can.
So the billing is based not only on actual use, but on potential demand?
Potential time.
That's how the
think
rates.
so.
That's how the rates are determined by the city of Detroit.
Okay.
Peak hour, peak day. So at 3 o'clock on the hottest day of the year, the city of Detroit can decide to pick that's going to be the peak day when they set the rates. So that's how all those rates are determined.
Oh, will you double check, and if there's further to
I'm
that
happy to
answer, you'll get
provide
back
you.
to us.
Okay,
written
yeah, it's just,
explanation.
it seems like a disconnect there between the rates and maybe potentially people conserving water use. Because I have no incentive, as it is right now, to conserve anything. I could run my, water my lawn all night long, all, summer long, and probably just come up to the minimum.
Can I run a hose to your house?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
If I can put a meter on it, yes, you may.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sure. Any other comments? Close the public hearing. Next item is consideration of the ordinance to amend section 74-183, combined water and sewer rates of chapter 74 utilities of the Pleasant Ridge City Code. Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move the ordinance number 396 regarding the combined water and sewer rate be adopted as recommended.
Is there support?
Support.
Rubino got it.
Okay.
Blame him for the water. May we take a vote?
Commissioner Bushy?
Yes.
Commissioner Rubino?
Yes.
Commissioner Khaled?
Yes.
Commissioner Lenko?
Yes.
Mayor Costello?
Should I vote no?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. Next item, consideration of the contract between Oakland County and the City of Pleasant Ridge for assessing services effective July 1st, 2007 through June 30th, 2013. Sherry?
Mayor, this is an item that is before you. It's a renewal of an existing contract with the Oakland County Equalization Division, and it is... Pardon me? Oh,
Giving Molly.
scared me. I thought I was on the wrong item. For assessing services for the city, it's my recommendation that it be approved.
Same price as last year.
Everything is the same.
Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move that the contract with Oakland County Equalization Division Assistance Services for assessing services effective July 1, 2011 through June 30th, 2013 be approved, and that the mayor, city clerk, city manager, and city attorney be authorized to sign.
Is there support?
Support.
May we take a vote?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, did you have a question?
No question.
May we take a vote?
Commissioner Khaled?
Yes.
Commissioner Lenko?
Yes.
Commissioner Bushy?
Yes.
Commissioner Rubino?
Yes.
Mayor Costello?
Yes, motion carries. Next item is consideration of the city's participation in the Oakland County Urban County Community Development Block Grant, CDBG program, for program years 2009, 2010, 2011.
I am going to ask the city clerk to address this, Mayor.
I just wanted to make a note that I know the agenda says 2009, 10, and 11.
Oh,
13.
I'm
But
sorry.
it's 12, 13, and 14, that is
Right.
a typo, sorry. The city participates in the Community Development Block Grant Program, or the CDBG program, and it's through Oakland County, but it's funded by HUD. Every 3 years, HUD requires communities to commit to the CDBG program for another 3 years. A copy of the resolution approving this, should the city commission decide to approve it, will be forwarded to the Oakland County CDBG department for their file. Over the
I
last,
have to tell you, Amy, in all my years, I've always hated CDBG. It's tough to
Just
get out.
saying.
it's tough to say. I'd like to point out over the last 3 years, the city was entitled to $24,000 in funding. Such funding went to replace sidewalks, it planted trees for beautification, it purchased some equipment for the fitness center, and it also retrofitted the front and rear doors to the city offices to make them ADA compliant.
Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move that the City of Pleasant Ridge resolve to participate in Oakland County's Urban County Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, programs for the years 2012, 2013, and 2014. Further, we resolve to remain in Oakland County's Urban County Community Development programs, which shall be automatically renewed in successive 3-year qualification periods of time, or until such time that it is in the best interest of the local community to terminate the cooperative agreement.
Is there support?
Support.
Mayor, take a vote.
Commissioner Lenko?
Yes.
Commissioner Bushy?
Yes.
Commissioner Kellett?
Yes.
Commissioner Rubino?
Yes.
Mayor Costelli?
Yes, motion carries. Next item, public discussion items not on the agenda. City Manager's report.
Mayor and City Commissioners, I have a few things to report, and one of the most exciting is that the Community Garden Committee met. We've established some guidelines and fee schedule, at least to start this. It will be kicked off this Saturday, June 18th. If you are interested in obtaining a plot or two in the new community garden, which is located at the dead end of between Devonshire and Wellesley. Our DPW has been working fast and furious to get that, to get everything separated and that up and running so that gardeners can be welcome Saturday. There will be irrigation and there will be paths so that you have access to your garden all the time. The next trolley that the DDA is sponsoring will be Saturday, June 25th, 6 o'clock to midnight. There will be a DDA Kids Concert in the park on Wednesday, July 27th. I will remind you that the Kinberton Road Reconstruction Project will begin early July, probably right after the holiday. We will be holding a pre-construction meeting with the residents on June 28th right here. On the recreation side, I think Commissioner Bushy pointed out the summer program will begin in swim lessons next week. And there will be an ice cream social, our annual ice cream social on the July 13th, and that's held at Gainsborough Park.
It's always a special day.
It's always. You mean July 13th, of course. Yes. That could be someone's birthday.
Any other business?
Yeah, I have a question. I had asked before if there's any way possible that the drain cost and the refuge pickup can be taken off the water bill and put on the tax bill so people can use it as a deduction on their taxes. Can we do that?
That can be done, and the city looked at that a number of years ago. I'd be happy to, dig out some of the information. The problem with that is that you penalize some of the customers, some of the homeowners currently, so their bills would be higher because it's based on a different formula. But I'm happy to provide
Is the drain
it.
based on a formula? Based on water consumption?
No.
No, the drain is not. That's
Fixed cost.
That's just,
It's a fixed cost.
yes.
Okay.
Frank, there were reasons, I can't remember what they were,
Well,
but
I
she
asked
can
a couple
dust it
years
off
ago-
again.
Well, when I first got on, I asked that question, and I don't remember what happened, and I'm just thinking that would be so much better if people can use it as a deduction.
It's a deduction,
on
right,
their
that was
taxes.
discussed.
Well, and I'd like to encourage the same, because we end up in this in this issue every year depending on how wet or how dry the season is. Nobody can predict the weather, and when you're using a variable cost to allocate the fixed cost, you're never going to guess it right, and you're going to be charging somebody wrongly. In a wet year, everybody has to, because we had a wet year, everybody has to pay an increase, and if you have a dry year, and people are watering, the fund is flush, and the poor guy who's watering his lawn, he's disproportionate share. So,
It is a problem in a small community like ours where you are spreading all the charges over 1,150 homes. I am not unsensitive to the idea of people receiving $800 water bills in a quarter or more. So I'm happy to provide that information, and maybe you'd like to take a look at it again.
yeah.
I do backflips to get mine down to $800.
I know you would. That would be a low water bill for you.
My water bill got a lot better ever since I got a long garden.
Long garden hose to my backyard.
I have to get myself a long one too
Pull
then.
me aside.
Is there a motion to adjourn? Part of that motion is casual dress for the summer meetings.
Yep. Yes. So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.